This is a fight that I've been actually campaigning for a long time. PFC was nice enough to, set me up with this fight. I'm coming off of my first loss.
I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm pretty sure he's 4-1. I'm 4-0, so pretty similar records. As far as styles go, I'm pretty sure he's more of a ground guy, and I think I'm a little more well-rounded. So I think for the most part of the fight, wherever it goes, I'll be able to hold my own, if not get the better of him.
Seems like a tough guy. I've watched all his fights. He doesn't give up. He keeps coming. So that's what I'm looking for.
I think my stand-up's going to be where I excel against Alex Halkias. I think the ground game, we're both kind of similar levels, so I think it would make for kind of a boring fight.
You're going to see an Alex that's looking to finish the fight. We've been working a lot of different techniques. I'm not looking for one specific technique. I'm looking to get the fight anywhere where I'm going to end the fight, and that's what I'm going to look to do, and that is what I'm going to do tomorrow night.
Good luck, Alex, and look forward to the fight.
And Robin on his way to the cage, a very impressive young 145er, Alexander Halkias, pro record of 4-1. He rattled off 4 straight victories before a loss to another very tough individual, Josh Mahan.
Yeah, this guy, when it comes to just straight up pure talent, is about as talented as of a 145er as we have in this country. Just his straight, supple skills, incredible positional control when he's on the ground, nice, crisp, clean boxing. The challenge here for Halkias, who I believe in a lot of areas is as or more talented than Kyle Nelson, his opponent. The challenge here is dealing with the real mental strength of Nelson. Nelson is hard to break. Halkias has all the tools to do it. He just needs to get in here, implement his game, and try to break Nelson, but nobody else has been able to do that.
Naga silver, Abu Dhabi Pro Canada bronze, Grappler's Quest silver. 3 medals in his last 3 major BJJ tournaments. If this fight goes to the ground, Kyle Nelson is in deep, deep water.
Yeah, Halkias, he's got submission skills, he's got fancy skills, but he's got a grinding top game. He's got an ornery game that makes you extremely uncomfortable. He's very physical in the way he uses it, and he's not some flash in the pan catch you guy. He's a grind you out and make your life miserable guy.
And staring across from Halkias will be Kyle the Monster Nelson. He's got a pro record of 4-0, and it's 4 impressive victories. Robin, you've been on hand for a couple of them. This is a kid that's got very strong stand-up skills.
Yeah, this is his biggest test, Kyle Nelson. But you know what? He can pass this test because his last fight was his biggest test, and the fight before that was his biggest test. This kid went 9-1 as an amateur, and he's 4-0 as a professional. Of those 13 victories, 7 or 8 of them are fights he was supposed to, in quotations, lose. Nobody told Kyle Nelson that. He comes in here, he toughs it out, he has the will to win, he has no patience for the consideration of losing, and sometimes that's a very powerful thing.
Just take it back to SCC 1 in June of 2013. Neelan Hordet-Reese was supposed to beat Kyle Nelson. It looked like he was set up to beat Kyle Nelson. Not so fast. Split decision win. Kyle Nelson retained his undefeated streak.
Yeah, this guy just finds ways to do it, and the biggest weapon that he has is his will and his incredible toughness. He's got a hell of a chin on this kid, and like I said, it just doesn't cross his mind that he can lose. He can be in the toughest spot going, he can be there for a round, 2 rounds, and he still comes in here with every intention to win this fight. And that's a powerful thing, and that's going to be the weapon that Halkias is going to have to overcome.
He's trained at Muskoka kickboxing, he's trained at Parabellum, and in his corner tonight, Crew-Alin Hameljan. And when Crew-Alin's around, he's got faith in somebody's stand-up skills.
Yeah, and Crew-Alin's just a great leader. He gets the best out of guys. One of the big strengths of a great coach is he has that nebulous ability to make somebody want to perform well for him. You want to please a good coach. And Alin is one of these guys. You want to make him happy. And the way to make this guy happy is show incredible grit and toughness, something Nelson always shows, and show some nice, crisp striking, and put a hurt on Halkias.
Just ask Josh Hill about what kind of effect Crew-Alin can have on a fighter.
Yeah, it's amazing. Halkias in his corner has Oliver Vadenez and Andrew McInnes. McInnes is the top 5 jiu-jitsu players in the history of Canada, up there with guys like Mark Bocek and Vadnais is incredibly tough and incredibly skilled. They built their own little team. Well, let's see how that team does against Kyle
The following
Nelson.
bout is presented by Wingmen.com. This bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds in the PFC featherweight division. Introducing first, the man standing to my left and fighting out of the blue corner. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighed in at 145 3/4 pounds. He is a mixed martial artist with a record of 4 victories opposite a single defeat, fighting out of Toronto, Ontario, Alex Halkias. His opponent stands across the cage to my right and fights out of the red corner. He stands 5 feet 11 inches tall. His official weight, 145 3/4 pounds. He is a Muay Thai, kickboxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. His record flawless at 4-0, fighting out of Hamilton, Ontario, Kyle the Monster Nelson. Your referee, Ivan Speck.
If I had to put some money on it, I would predict we'll see a double leg shot out of Halkias within the first minute. It'd be a good strategy because he's so good on the ground. Good on the feet, but good on the ground too.
I got to call the debut fight of his teammate, Oliver Vadnais, and if this fight is anything close to what that was, we're in for a really explosive and fun fight.
Little bit jump first is Halkias. Little wound up, whereas Kyle's he shoots, but even if he doesn't complete that takedown, he's got Kyle thinking about it now.
Yeah, Nelson came out really calm. Halkias took the middle of the cage and wanted to work right away, and he's got Nelson backed up to the cage. You're in Halkias' world right here.
And Halkias is good everywhere, but why not put this down to where you're really the best?
Well, he landed a nice one, but now Nelson over the top.
Yeah, Nelson touched the knuckles. Oh, he's got a power guillotine here. Yeah, he made, I think, a huge mistake. If you're going to drag that down, you got to pull full guard. And this is a nice spot for Halkias. This is a bit of a gift here for Halkias, and he's got to take advantage of it.
Nelson trying to work his way out from under. Almost had him out. And now Nelson escapes out the back. Great job.
That is a huge mental victory for Nelson, and it's a tough mental challenge for Halkias. If Nelson can keep getting up and force Halkias to stay here on the feet, especially as his heart rate goes up, he's not quite as comfortable. Wear him down. This is good for Kyle Nelson. Halkias is working to try to get it back there.
Nelson's trying to do everything he can to spin this off the cage. Now working back as Halkias tries to shoot the double, but double underhooks in response from Nelson.
Very impressed by Nelson's reactions to these takedowns. His defense looks good, but he's quick to get the underhooks.
And that was a couple good knees to the body, answered up top with a couple of right hands.
Halkias is in great shape, but the kind of pressure you're dealing with right here can make a guy fade early. Really committed to this takedown again, but killer defense so far on this one by Nelson.
And Robin, another strong knee landed by Nelson as Halkias tried that takedown.
We talked to Nelson just an hour and a half ago, and he knew that there was going to be takedowns coming, and he felt if he could defend a few of them, get back up when they happened, he'd force Halkias here and fatigue him where he thinks he has the advantage on the feet.
He was extremely relaxed coming into this fight, and that's exactly the way he's been so far in the cage. Halkias definitely the one that's using more energy.
Yeah, and he looked a little jumpy at the beginning. Cortisol levels a little bit high, adrenaline's up. Now as we get further into this round, you can see his mouth is open a little. He's not too fatigued, he's not gassed, but he's a slightly different fighter than he was at the very beginning. And he's working really hard.
And Nelson continuing to land strong knees. They back out to the middle of the cage. And now Nelson wants to come over the top and just ducked under that right hand at Halkias.
Those knees to the body, that's delivering. Nelson made one mistake here, and that was pulling guard or pulling sort of a flop guard on that power guillotine, but he didn't have to pay for it, so his confidence is soaring now. And Halkias, although he's not hurt, he is not getting what he wants from any of these exchanges.
No, and he's pinned up to the cage right now by Nelson. This is not the position Halkias wants. He wants to be in control on that fence, trying to force Nelson to the ground.
Halkias is breathing hard. He's been gripping the steering wheel super tight through this fight all the way from the beginning till now. If it gets to the second, that minute of recovery for a good athlete like Halkias, he'll be fully recovered. But right now in the late stages of round one, he will be fatigued.
Robin, it looks like Nelson's dropping his hands a little bit when he goes for that big right hook.
Yeah, I think he's so prepared for the takedown, like, oh, beautiful knee. He's so prepared for the takedown like you see here that he's got to keep his hands a little lower to be able to react. Man, Halkias is burning a lot of fuel trying to get this to the ground. Nelson's takedown defense is very impressive. Unexpectedly, and no disrespect to him. I've underestimated this kid a million times, but I did not think Halkias is a solid wrestler. I'm really impressed with Nelson's wrestling tonight.
Kyle Nelson seems to be one of those guys that adds a new dimension to his game every time he steps in the cage, and right now he is showing off tremendous takedown defense. Halkias unable to get him to the ground. The only time they've been there, as you said, Robin, was when Nelson kind of pulled that flop guard.
Yeah, he won't do that again. Watch when they disengage, if Nelson throws a right uppercut, left hook. Well, you can't now that Brian's separating them. Oh, it's not Brian.
As Ivan Speck in there.
There's that uppercut.
And now you see the right uppercut from Kyle Nelson as he tries to back Halkias up.
Right uppercut, left hook is the combination he's trying to line up here.
For a guy with such an extensive kickboxing background, I am a little bit surprised we haven't seen Nelson use his legs a little bit more.
I think he's concerned about the takedown. You get that kick caught, and all of a sudden you're down here. Really committed to being a wrestle boxer tonight. Work the hands and work the takedown defense. And hey, man, it's working.
Dan Henderson made a pretty good career out of it.
Yeah. It's a tried and true North American approach to fighting. That's a telegraphed overhand right, but when you come up and close the door with the left hook, it's not as risky.
And again, reaching forward to that left hook, Halkias wasn't able to take advantage of it. Now Nelson looking for a takedown of his own. We're inside 10 seconds in the round, and he did get it, but I think it was after the horn sounded.
Nelson made a very big statement here in this opening round, man. It's, you're not taking me down, so you're going to need to stand and deal with me on the feet. Near the end of that one, you saw Halkias settle into that prospect a little bit more, but again, I think in the first minute, after this full break, flush some of that lactic acid from the body, get that oxygenated hemoglobin moving around, you'll see Halkias come out here and really fight to get this to the ground early in this round.
10-9 round one in favor of Nelson?
Absolutely.
But this is going to be a big round here for Halkias, because if Nelson comes out and puts on another round like he just did, Halkias will find himself far behind the 8 ball going into round 3. He's got to find a response here.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, I think he's going to look for that takedown. If Halkias really focuses here, and he looks focused, he's here entering round 2, he will commit to fighting on the feet for a little while, commit to a boxing exchange, and that'll make the takedown come. Do it off a left hook, slip a punch and do it, but don't just shoot for the takedowns right away. Although if he gets it, it'll be good for him.
And we got a timeout. I think some of the tape on Nelson's glove.
This favors Halkias. This is a good thing for Halkias. This extra bit of time here. He did a ton of work in that first round, and now he's going to get to fully recover and start round 2 as if it's the start of a fight.
Yeah, it's that left glove of Kyle Nelson's, Robin. The tape has come off, so he's got that open strap on the glove, and they'll fire some tape in and get this fixed as quickly as possible.
You see, with the crew of Lynn, he's also got Adrian Woolley with him. Adrian Woolley's as good a wrestler as you'll find in this country, and that is a good explanation of why Nelson's takedown defense and wrestling looks so good. I've worked with Adrian. Anybody who's worked with him will tell you, this guy not only knows how to wrestle, he knows how to teach it in bite-sized chunks that you can implement.
Do you remember the Matt Hughes-like slam Adrian Woolley put on Bo Harris?
Man, I remember a lot of slams Adrian Woolley have laid on a lot of dudes. He is an outstanding wrestler, but he's an outstanding MMA fighter. This really helps Halkias, man. We're back in, but Halkias got full recovery. He's going to be able to really commit to these takedowns even harder now.
Halkias starts out with a jab, obviously wanting to set up that takedown again. Nelson answering back quickly, and you saw Nelson come inside second time with that leg kick. And again, Halkias trying to get him to the ground, but look at the base on Nelson.
Yeah, just like we were talking about, though. Commit to a striking exchange and shoot on his combinations. Great choice to drive the knee into the midsection. Now, Halkias on the bottom. He's very dangerous here. Watch out for heel hooks.
Nelson spun it around. I think he's going to let Halkias get back to his feet.
When you're in this position, these kicks, he's being nonchalant about these kicks, but you can have opportunities to just drill that shin into the meat here, soften him up. He's trying to take those opportunities now. Halkias might kick directly against the knee, which is really risky. It's not the classiest way to handle this, but it's not about class when you're on your back and there's a guy on top of you.
But that's exactly what he's looking for, Robin. Watch the trajectory of those feet. They're searching those kneecaps on Nelson. And good decision to move them off, restart them standing.
Halkias is in a fight. He asked for this fight because he felt that Kyle Nelson had an inflated record and was not as good as his record. It'd be a nice guy to get a good win over. But Nelson, again, just like these other fights we talked about, people have been underestimating this guy all through his career. Not only is he showing that, but he's better than he's ever been.
Halkias landed a nice uppercut in that last exchange, but it didn't phase Nelson, who came right back and again with that left jab.
Halkias needs to do some real commitment to his striking. We're seeing that right now. It's like, you know what? I think we're in a striking battle. I better just fight this guy. I better stand on the feet and fight this guy. When you try to force those takedowns, he's gonna get tired, and he's also gonna get taken advantage of on the feet.
Halkias looks like he's the more tired fighter, breathing a little bit heavier. Nelson still looks pretty calm. And Nelson commits with that beautiful overhand.
Nelson sort of lets you see the overhand coming, but that time he put it in a combination where he changed his level and he was going to the body a little bit. That opened it up.
And it looks like there's a cut just above the left temple of Alex Halkias, and I'm not sure if that was from the punch or if there was a clash of heads. And now Nelson's starting to light him up. Halkias has something wrong with the leg. Nelson attacked it immediately.
Halkias also was doing a great job of feinting, drawing out the punches of Nelson, and then delivering his own. If this one is going to have to take place on the feet, and Kyle Nelson sort of insisting that it will, although here we see pressure on the lower back, and he's pulling out the leg. That was a close to a takedown. He's changing it up to introduce some different things for Kyle Nelson to defend in the wrestling.
No pun intended here, Robin, but I think Nelson smells a little bit of blood in the water.
I think there's a pun very much intended. There's some nice head movement from Halkias. Same thing now. Halkias is trying to draw him out and land on the counters.
And whatever's wrong with that left leg of Halkias is definitely what Nelson has been attacking with those inside leg kicks.
He's going to have to eat overhand rights, though, if he's going to keep doing that. Halkias has the bait there. See, he's coming up with the left hook after that, and Halkias is drawing him in, but
he tagged Halkias. Halkias is in trouble.
Halkias is not making smart decisions here. He's being frustrated, and he's losing this fight, and he's making bad choices here. There he's back. This is not his game, playing like this to the crowd. He wants to be able to operate in here like a technician.
He's sticking his chin out, and that is not the right thing to do with Kyle Nelson hunting you down right in front of us. Another good leg kick.
Great choice. Fakes the overhand right, goes to the inside leg kick.
Left jab again from Nelson, who is just stalking Halkias right now. And now he lands the right and inside leg kick. Great combo.
Dude, Kyle Nelson looks fantastic tonight in every area. I said when they walked out that I felt that Alex Halkias was the more purely skilled guy. And you know what? In the gym, maybe that is the case. But here, Kyle Nelson's a guy who can perform better in the cage than he does in training. It's a very rare trait, but it's the biggest explanation as to why he's winning all these tough fights, and he's looking good doing it.
A switch is flipped inside the mind of Kyle Nelson because he is in full stock mode. He is right after Halkias, and he's landing at will, especially in that inside leg
and the right hand. The inside leg opens up that right hand, and Nelson is hunting him right now.
And Robin, Alex Halkias is not checking a lot of those leg kicks.
And he ate one to the body and an overhead to the head. Kyle Nelson is feasting on him tonight.
Halkias slipped, and whoa, Nelson almost landed.
He kicked out the inside of the inside leg and put him to the ground with that. Almost landed the right uppercut. Kyle Nelson should not be drawn down into the ground. He should invite him back up and go after that leg some more.
Should Kyle Nelson not just back off immediately here and let him back to his feet?
I'm sure that's what his corner is yelling. That's what I think a lot of people would be yelling. You can try to kick that leg that is hurt, but we are, I think, going to see a round. And Kyle Nelson's going to be up 2 very clean rounds and not only be ahead on the scorecard, but he's done some real damage. Very impressed with Kyle Nelson.
Very impressed, Robin, but I think he made a tactical mistake at the end of that second round. He should have let Halkias back to his feet. He had him wobbly, he had him dazed. He could have kept going. He might have gotten the finish before the round was out.
Yeah, man, this is it's shaping up to be a great fight. It's been very exciting. Kyle Nelson pushing every area, defending the takedowns, forcing Halkias to overwork, and then feasting on him on the feet. Kyle Nelson is definitely looking good tonight. Like I said, each one of these fights is his toughest fight. Tonight is, and he's never looked better.
And down to our left, PFC President Jamie Champion and our post-fight interviewer Alex Gasson absolutely flinching his kickboxing guys every time that Nelson is landing that inside leg kick.
Hey man, anybody can understand a fight like this. You see two guys really going at it. Anyone in the crowd who just loves Rock'em Sock'em can dig this. But you see a guy like Pecker Gasson over here, and you see a guy like Jamie Champion. You see any of the fighters and the trainers in the crowd, they're very impressed with how clean Nelson's looking tonight against a very tough opponent.
First time on PFC 2, we're going to the third round here, Robin, and we have a barn burner. Halkias is going to need a big round 3.
Halkias needs a knockout. He needs to set up that right hand. He can do it by causing Nelson to respond. There, he landed a nice left hook.
He was answered pretty heavily by Nelson, though.
One of the things we set up right off the top was that Nelson has a hell of a chin.
Looks a lot like Lyndon Whitlock, actually, when you see him in the cage.
Yeah, he kind of does. Fights a lot like him, too. Just with a lot of grit. That uppercut's working for Nelson. God, everything's working for Nelson tonight.
That was that left uppercut right overhand that you were looking at earlier, and now Halkias driving him back to the cage. Look at the takedown defense of Nelson.
It's a strength, too. This is an incredibly strong guy. Halkias is either going to have to let the single go, try to get in deep with his hips and convert to a high crotch, or just completely let this one go and punch on the exit. Or he can keep working it, but it's a risky thing. If he gets it to the ground and he's looking like he might, there he reaches the shoulder, but fails on the takedown.
And now uppercuts again from that right hand of Kyle Nelson, and he's got Halkias into the cage. Now Halkias trying to wrap him up and pull him to the ground, and Nelson just standing with him and some open shots to the body.
Good choice by Nelson. Make him work here. Make him work. You don't need to go to the ground in this full guard. Nice choice. Now Halkias trying to tie him up with an over-under, but Nelson still has 2 underneath, and he's making Halkias work to stay up here.
Robin, if you're Kyle Nelson, you just have to worry about getting too overconfident here. You've had a great fight so far, but you can't leave an opening for Halkias.
Yeah, Halkias pulling guard. You know, like I said, he's cornered by Andrew McInnes, and McInnes is just so elite in the jiu-jitsu, and he might have said, look, man, drag this guy to the ground, get the full guard, and go to work there.
And they're just playing Rock'em Sock'em robots on the cage.
Yeah, this is favoring Nelson again. He's making Halkias work. He's also fatiguing him, and he's up 2 on the scorecard. So if you burn a minute here, that's a minute that Halkias doesn't have to try to win this fight. So he's happy to hang out here.
Robin, there's a little bit more weight behind the punches of Nelson in this position than there is from Halkias, although it's really just trying to posture for the judges to land some points.
Yeah, but you know, you don't have your feet on the ground, you can't generate power. All the power comes from the earth, through the knees, through the hips, and Halkias is just kind of hanging out there. That was work for Halkias too.
I have an MMA Earth First t-shirt idea in my mind now after that.
He might get this one. Wow, look at this kid's takedown defense, man.
Beautiful
Feeds him
sprawl.
uppercuts under the armpit too.
Again, Halkias rolls over. Nelson will punish the legs, but again, this is where Kyle Nelson should just back off. He's showing some dominance to the judges, but he's winning the fight on the feet.
Yep.
Let Halkias back up.
Halkias needs to get up here, tuck his chin, and throw some Hail Marys because he's losing this fight right now. And you're not going to win it sitting on your back.
This is not the fight I expected to see when you looked at 4-0 versus 4-1.
Lynn is screaming for Nelson to move back. Halkias has been fooling around a lot in this fight, but that's not something you do when you're losing a fight. There, he's going to get this one, I believe.
Nelson backing up towards the cage. Unbelievable.
Well, Nelson fought with the forearm to get across the face and used the cross face to put pressure on him and get his hips back. Halkias has lined him up against the fence, and he's got his hands joined. He's going to drag him to the ground. But, again, Nelson wants to back up. Lynn screams for him, Crew Lynn, and he does. And the booing that's going on here is as a result of Halkias's unwillingness to engage, and really what he needs to do is engage. He needs to go in there and throw Hail Mary right hands.
And again, Halkias just drops to the ground, and Nelson backs off and says, come on up.
Halkias got to throw it. There it is. That's really what we're left with, and he senses it now.
Yeah, he knows now he's got to land something big, and he's working well with that left jab, but Nelson's just walking right through them.
Yeah, but you can see this is hard work, man. This is not for the faint of heart. You're standing in here with a guy putting pressure on you. Your muscles are screaming. Your body's feeling poisoned with lactic acid, and it's hard to land anything. The amount of torque, what you can do in the gym, what you can do on the pads, you cannot do tonight.
So you want to be a fighter, huh?
Yeah, this is a gritty, tough fight. This is the kind of fight that Alex Halkias needed. He's had some fights where he was so much more skilled than a guy, and he is as skilled or more than Kyle Nelson. But he's seeing what it takes: grit, heart, determination, desire, toughness, and Nelson has all that and more, man.
Beautifully done there. Halkias was able to drag him to the ground. Nelson just shrugged him off right back to his feet and lands a good one to the body and then comes upstairs.
Elena's just screaming for the straight one, too.
Halkias landed a nice kick. It was blocked, but you could hear the smack off the arm of Nelson.
We don't have a time clock here at ringside, but you're getting the sense we're into that last minute right now. Actually, we're 10 seconds left. Kyle Nelson going to win this fight unless Halkias can knock him out with something in the next 6 seconds.
And Nelson still coming forward. Halkias tries it. Nelson goes in, drags him down to the ground, and that will finish the fight. Kyle Nelson undoubtedly will take the judge's decision. What a performance from the monster.
Kyle Nelson is a monster, man. This is one more of these in a long line of tests. Really talented guys who come in here with all kinds of skills, quality training, great shape, great corners, great on the ground, tough on the feet like Alex Halkias. And Nelson, one more time, his heart and his grit and his will, combined with ever-increasing skill set. This kid at 145 is now 5-0, and you better be watching him, and you better be taking him seriously.
And PFC President Jimmy Champion Singor left had his eyes intently on that fight. I think PFC is going to want Kyle the Monster Nelson back in the cage. Tuba will send it into the cage to Mike Markham.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the judges' scorecards for the final decision. Patrick Buckley scores the bout 29-28. Patricia Vandermeer and Declan Woods both score this bout 30-27 in favor of your winner by unanimous decision, Kyle the Monster Nelson.
Kyle Nelson moving up to 5-0. Holy jeez, man, what a war of attrition. Your takedown defense there was absolutely fantastic. You brought him into your game. Tell us what it was that's going through your head right now.
Just super excited. You know, I got a lot of friends and family that came all the way down from Huntsville to support me. Happy birthday, Jacob. Happy birthday, Jacob. You know, so I'm really glad I got to put on 15 minutes of fun for these guys, you know. It's fun and flashy when you get a knockout or submission, but you know, when you put in the 15 minutes of work, you know you're getting experience, you're getting everything out of the fight. So I'm trying to get up to the next level, and I think an opponent with like Alex Halkias with his ground game was really a step up for me. I was happy I was able to weather the storm.
You were taking every bit of concept in this ring and you were dominating it. Your dirty boxing was fantastic. Your stand-up trading was awesome. You were staying away from throwing kicks because you didn't want that takedown. You didn't want him to get lucky. When you started feeling that power guillotine in the very beginning of the match, you almost had him there. Bring us through that.
You know, I know his last fight he lost by a guillotine, so I kind of knew it was there in the back of my head. It wasn't something I wanted to try, but it was there. So I put it on for half a second, like it's tight, but you know, he had both my legs wrapped. I'm like, you know, I'm just not going to go to the round. It's the beginning of the fight. I'll let it go, get back up, and try and work some more.
Power overhand rights. You caught him with a couple of them. You started seeing a little blood coming out of that eye. Did you get hungry with that?
I did. You know, it took a lot of self-control to try not to rush in and be a little overzealous. I knew that's what he was waiting for. I knew he was waiting for me to start throwing big shots and get a little sloppy, and then he would shoot in and try and get that takedown. So I knew I hit him, and I knew I could hit him again, so I didn't need to rush into it and do anything stupid.
Shoutouts, sponsors, team.
Yeah.
Shoutouts.
I want to thank all my sponsors, the Sport Lab, Moose Delaney's Bar and Grill, Dry Muskoka, Kimura Wear, and the Silverdale Gun Club. I want to thank my beautiful fiance for helping me cut weight and putting up with all the BS that goes on with being a professional fighter. I want to thank my mom and dad for their continued support, and of course all my friends up there that made the trek down. Thanks a lot, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, moving up to 5-0, Kyle Nelson!
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, PFC. You put on one of the best shows around. I'd love to come back, and wouldn't mind one of them Harleys out there either.